All right, and we're live.
Today is we are practicing our critique skills. So one thing with critique, so we're going to look at what you guys have here, and I want both of you to be part of the critique process. So Jordan and I will be, because we were talking to Matt yesterday, and it was like your critiques. So in your critiques, how many people are speaking? No one's saying anything. It's just Sabrina talking.
Pretty much.
Unless you find the audience.
And then they usually only say, like, oh, it's really nice, or I like to shout on the screen.
Okay. Well, next semester it's basically required. She's gonna say it's like a part of your grade, pretty much. So you're gonna have to speak up, and it's better to get practice in now, so it's easier for when it comes up.
What do you think the usefulness of critique?
So give more ideas out. Bounce more ideas off. Also, everybody has different ideas. Combining ideas, getting ideas together. So,
I know it definitely helps, like especially when you have that like collaborative effort in your class and you're like really bouncing things, like just your skill level will go up a lot faster. And also people will start thinking kind of similar, you know?
Yeah.
Like in an architecture type of way. It's like, what are we doing this for? Right? Like we're just, you know, it's like, what do you want to create? Like, what are you trying to do? I feel like with great art and architecture, there's always these kind of keys or like motifs or just things that they do that makes it good, right? It's like, and so how did they get there? Like, what is that process? Like, how did they think about things like that? And I feel like critique is a great way to keep improving to get to that level.
Right, and when it gets to, you know, higher college levels, your professor's not going to be there to sit there and critique every single one of your projects. You're going to have to rely on your studio mates to critique you, and you to critique yourself in order to elevate your work for that final presentation. And you might only get 2 projects a semester when you go up into higher levels. And they're really in depth. So for this kind of stuff, it's good to really get into telling people what you want them to do and like what you think would look better. And also think about what you would do in this situation with their work. So like put yourself in their shoes and then say what you would do differently. Because just saying, oh, it's great is not enough.
Yeah. One thing I like to do for like critique and just like a way about I go critiquing. Firstly, instead of telling them what's good, I tell them what I see. And that helps just like the person who's getting critiqued understand kind of what people are seeing in your work. Like maybe you have certain intentions in maybe the way like you've aligned this or structured it. You have a certain idea, but like another person hasn't been through your whole kind of thinking process and like, you know, process of developing to that. So their impression is a very fresh impression. And if they understand what you're seeing or like have a close idea to what you're doing, that means like you have a very clear idea. I don't know, it's like easier to I wouldn't say easier to understand because I don't think you should make things for people to so they get it quite well. But I think there's a certain essence that.
And moving on with that, also when you're presenting, if you have that certain thing you want to say, like like a certain alignment, there's a certain reason why you did something, and you don't say it. Most of the time, no one's going to realize it. Unless it's so clear and so specific that they realize that they see it, you have to tell it, you have to read it out to them. Because all we see is a form, we don't see what went on behind it. So when you present, you got to say what you did and use your vocab words to describe your your forms.
What are some good critique? What do you think, what would you want to hear in critique? Like, do you have any thoughts? So you've already had a couple presentations. What do you think you could have done better in the critique, like when everyone's sitting around and, you know, you're just sitting around?
We
Like, are
could
you
have said
thinking,
better, or like,
yeah, like, are you thinking about what people are doing? Or are you just like waiting till your turn? You know, like, are you trying to, like, always when I would sit down for critique, I always had the mentality like, I want to see the greatest work out of you this time. So it's like, I expect other people to have that mentality to me, and I have that mentality for their work. And it's like when you're critiquing it, it's not like a personal thing, you know? You might get your feelings hurt because you put a lot of time and effort into it, but never take it personally. You know, it's a work, it's just like it's just like a work of art, right?
You could just remake it, or you
Yeah.
could just say fuck it. You know.
Yeah, yeah, you can like hear what people say and just be like, fucking, like, I don't, you know, I'm gonna go with my idea and this is it. So yeah, like in your critiques, what do you think you can do better, like as a student? you
Or
know?
rather, what do you want to hear?
If my concept, like what I want my thing to show and what my actual physical thing is, if they're not aligning up, I want to be able to like be told that. Like I want my concept to show in my work. I think that's important to know.
it's kind of hard for me because like I always want to appeal to like what everybody else likes. I know that in architecture you're supposed to create your own style and everything. I do have my own style, but like it's really broad to the point of like just comfort or simplicity or something like that. So it's kind of like I just want to hear what they think would make it better and kind of put my own spin on what they think.
So that's great for when you're out in the real world and you have a client and you meet their needs. But now it's all about you and your professor. Otherwise, it's all about you. You are the one creating this. You got to test your own limits. You got to push yourself. That's why we stay up, we go crazy, staying up till 3 a.m. because we're trying to come up with a new idea. That 3 a.m. kind of like hallucinations you're getting is all part of the process.
You're like seeing shadows where there aren't shadows, and it's, your forms are wobbling. You're like,
New stuff comes out, and you're not going to get that if you're just going off of someone's like, oh, do this, and then you do it, and they're like, because it's their project now, not yours.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, I like that a lot. It's like you want to make your work, you know.
Yeah.
It's like it's what you have to say, and like what you're saying, Dina, it's like you want your thoughts and like ideas to communicate in your forms, and it's like that's how you communicate and express yourself through architecture.
Right. When we were in this class, we were constantly coming up with a new concept every single time we came back to this class. We had a new fucking thing to show her.
Yeah,
Even though she gave us a critique, we came on with something new. I don't know if that's a good thing, but we weren't necessarily appealing to exactly what she wanted to see in that specific idea. We came in with something new, and we took stuff from the previous critique and we put it together to create something new.
because critique is like suggestion.
Yeah,
It's not like the end all be all.
Yeah.
And like you should carve out like, so I have a certain process that I've been like starting to realize like how I work. And it's like most of the time I do a lot of research and I have a lot of inspiration and sort of ideas. But for me, a large part of it is like doing that, throwing it away and like just working within the parameters, like, okay, you know, I have this amount of space and what can I do with it? And what are a couple ideas that I'm trying to do? And then through that, I make like a lot of iterations of usually working with my hands and just like, I make tons of iterations and
Or
eventually
tons of sketches.
tons of sketches, like, because for me, I work a lot with feeling. So like I have a certain feeling that it's not right. And like I just keep working at it until it's like it feels right. And I'm like, oh, this is the one. And then like when I see it, maybe I might take a day, not look at it at all, then look at it, and then I feel like I can see what ideas and things I have reflected. And then then that's when I have those like kind of they're like wobbly ideas. They're like half there, half not. But I have something like physical, like a physical final drawing or a very close to final drawing or very close to final fourth. And then I'll usually go to Jordan and then like a couple other people around and just like be like pitching what I'm trying to think. Cause like for me, by doing that, it just helps me clarify what I'm trying to say and like what I'm actually thinking. Cause just that reflection, maybe Jordan like will be listening and then interpret it his way and then say back to me what I said to him. That's very important. And like communication is like hearing what the person is saying and like saying back to them what they said to you. And so like Jordan would do that and then I can hear what came across clearly. And that just helps my presentation.
Right.
So we're just gonna jump into like what we have and then
We'll let you guys critique each other first.
yeah, and I mean it's like an open dialogue.
Yeah.
There's like no one here, so it's like we don't have to wait 10 minutes.
Yeah, no.
It's more about dialogue. So like we'll take a look at like what we have right now.
Start with this one. This is the original idea, and I wanted to go off that, but without like, roofs and all
Could
that.
you zoom in? Or make it like the 50% button.
So I wanted to take off the roof. I want to do something different than just like what's already been done. So I still have the not columns, but the structures leading up to the main area. And basically in this area there would just be a garden, a bunch of plants, walking out of the field. There would be shade covered. When the light hits it, these rings would go into this area and line up with all these. And visually, I think it looks really nice with the shadows and stuff. The rest of these are based off this iteration, with like the rip these, walking through it. So I'll start off with this one, which was literally a heart with heartstrings. I like working with perspective a lot. So if you look at it from the top, it looks like a heart. When you look at it from the side, it looks, you see more of the strings. Yeah. You would enter in from the back and walk through, coming from here and then out coming up there. Professors said it looks more like what a memorial would be, which I kind of agree with. So I wanted to like move away from memorials and just stick with like something light. So then this one was also a cage, but instead of going inwards, it went outwards. We walk through there. In my head, I would like where these green things are coming from, like a certain point in that area, there would be like more greenery, so like a place for rest outside of this contained area on the same side of here. I thought the shadows were also really cool on this, like from different angles. It was really nice. All the from big to small and bigger. The last one, I think, was one of my favorites. Not because it took like so much effort, just because I'm satisfied with how I put my ideas down. So again, it's more similar to this, where it's like a literal rib cage. Then you walk through and the heartstring is connected with other strings. And then where the green is like over here, there would be like plant life, so growing on these curves.
I like your use of materials here, the green. But I would like to see more on the ground, because first looking at it, I think it's just greenery right on the ribs. Modeling wise, very well done, but I would find a different way to attach these strings. Like the curving of it throws me off when I'm looking at it, and you'll be able to get better placement on where exactly you want it, so you don't have to deal with like the curve of the string not allowing you to do that. Although I do like the way it looks when you look in there. This is very like tectonic. Like I can see this. This could be a real thing. This needs more representation of your greenery. Maybe make a green disc.
Yeah.
So I'll just say about that. This is very memorially, but no one's going to be looking at a tower, looking down at it, unless you're in a plane. It's hard to see, and if you're entering it through the back, looks like you're going on a ship.
Okay.
So one thing I really like is it seems like you have a certain aesthetic that you're working with. And, you're allowing that to kind of set a mood for your piece. So your concept last time we spoke was
So you'd be walking through the heartstrings or on someone else's heartstrings.
so one thing. Personally, I enjoy looking at this, but for all of these, well, maybe not this one at scale might seem a lot more structural to me, but for this one and this one, which it seems like you're very happy where this is placed, and possibly with some more refinement, you know, having to finish these. For me, I wonder what this would be. Would this be more sculptural and would it just be like, you know, more sculptural and outdoors and very open? Or could you possibly enclose the space, maybe with curving glass and in the future? With plastic or something. And maybe the curving glass panels goes to here, or it just stops here for a reason, or like over arches for a reason. And when you have this form, I like this curvature form, and in the shadows it had a really cool effect. Like just like the the darker and the lighter, and I would think about now this open space as well, because it doesn't seem like you go from here and then you were to walk into here like you're encapsulated. It seems like you go under this maybe for something, let's say just like rain protection, right? Maybe if there's a glass pane. Now here you might have some sort of garden and like a cool just like chill space, right? And there's some benches. And so you have to think about the void spaces as well. Yeah, I would love to see some iterations of how you can clarify what you want this to be. Do you want this to be more sculptural and have it like very open, or do you want this to be more structural and have a building like for this? Like possibly this could be like like these two spaces could be this could be a small cafe. This could be a garden shop where you buy flowers and stuff. And then like out here it's like just chilling.
Open air market.
Open air market.
Yeah.
Open air bars,
Yeah.
So then there's like kind of plan to it. Finally, with circulation. So the way you move about the space. So you had some sort of thought about circulation for this one. I would love for you to apply it to this. The reason I like this better than this as well is because this seems like
It's been done.
yeah, I mean this stuff is cool. Like what if you applied that over here a little bit more? Maybe some more weaving or something.
Okay.
But it's just like straight, like if it was just straight on like this, you really have to clarify what is going on. Oh yeah, circulation. So you're tying back to your main concept. What brought to mind with like the heartstrings and stuff. For circulation, I would take inspiration in the way like blood moves through your body. How the heart creates low pressure and what is it, like low pressure, high pressure situations. So you have blood. So you can use that. You can use tension as like high pressure, and then
it's a release into a bigger space.
low pressure, and that kind of that like with this, it has this like movement like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's like high pressure, low pressure, and that's what kind of pushes you through the space. It's like, like what if it was like,
And if I may, is this all the space you get? This
Yeah,
size?
Yeah, she said.
It's-
Fuck it, go bigger. No, but she's not gonna care. The circulation of this is kind of broken up, and I would like to see it expanded more. Because when you're either entering here, entering here, entering here, or entering there.
Yeah.
It's all over the place in that sense. If this is just in the middle of the field somewhere, I can see someone coming randomly into this.
the goal is to create a structure, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah, so then that works, but it's really broken up because you have this open space and you walk through here and there's nothing to do.
Okay.
There's nothing here except go through back here. I would like to see this more expanded, either to more extents or like maybe it loops back in on itself. Or you take out this piece, as simple as that, and allow people to go through there and here
yeah.
all at once.
And like, what if this wasn't completely printed and this was like an enclosed structure? You could still like, you can make something really interesting. You could like still do like a wall curving here.
That extends, yeah.
And then it's like, would be a door and this is not an entry or exit, but like, could be, So like, you have this like corridor like this, right? But then you have like a more like a bubble kind of space, like
It's like a yin and yang kind of thing going on here.
true. And you could go with that, but I would stick to your concept for sure. This one is interesting. It reminded me of like an amphitheater, like where you perform like a concert. If this was all scaled up,
That'd be a stage of the concert, yeah.
Yeah.
One last thing. Work on the alignment of these, because like you go to the edge here, but you don't go to the edge here.
Yeah.
If it's supposed to be like that, make it like that. If you want certain alignments with your pictures that make it look nice, always like check it and place it while you're checking it instead of just placing it. In plan, it's not symmetrical, but that might not be what you're going for. And if it represents ribs, don't we have like one less rib or something? Or is that a myth? I don't know. Like take things like that.
Yeah.
what are your thoughts? What are you seeing?
Rip it up.
So for the most part for this one, I was thinking you have that tree as a centerpiece, but also this person, I don't see like a way to get up here really.
Yeah.
And also these trees, they lead straight to that tree. I'm almost thinking of like having that tree as like the main center point, like almost like a centerpiece that you don't really want to go to, but you definitely want to look at. So creating like, they almost start small here and then reach out like that. Maybe like a ramp that goes up to here or some type of stairway or something like that. So you kind of walk around it and have like a motion for it.
If you were to blow this up, how do you think so I like that you're thinking about how you would like actually get up there and stuff and the practicality, but if you were to blow this up, what do you think about these curves here?
It has to be more like higher up, not so low.
Right, because it's like the size of a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like what, 10, 15 feet?
It's really shallow. Would this be like a base? Just like a very flat, just like, yeah, like a platform that you stand on.
That's also what I'm asking. It's supposed to be.
Yeah, I wanted it to like be a little bit higher.
Well, this is already as tall as a person, isn't it? Just about.
Yeah, so your platform would be like here,
Or it could be slanted. Instead of flat, it could go like this, just ever so slightly, like a hill.
Right, yeah,
Interesting.
what are you thinking about when you see her project as well? Like, do you think her concept is coming through? Do you, what do you feel like could take this to another level? Like,
I think I see your concept coming through. Most part, some of your like saying like what you're doing in this space, like for this one definitely. It's supposed to be, I don't know if you're going through like a complete walkway or something. But
yeah.
it almost feels like you can come in this way and kind of stuck on this side. Almost, stuck on that side.
So, like, fluid, like, anywhere, not just be stuck or.
But there's also value in limiting people's
Yeah.
ability to walk somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just,
Oh, yeah,
it has to
that's
be
your
more
intention.
clear on what it wants to be.
Yeah, I mean, you just really have to think about the purpose of like what you, that's one of the questions that like we presented to you guys, is like, what is the space for? Like, what do you want? You know, have a vision of what's gonna happen there, right? Because that's important. Like, you know, really have like a story, like who's gonna come through this space? Like, I could imagine myself going to that space, just like getting a nice coffee and chilling, you know, little glass windows, and you sit under it, like, it's hot sun. So that's to show you up. We're doing critiques and just like practicing the art of critiquing.
Okay.
What do you think makes a good critique? What do you think are like things that you've noticed that you do or like your classmates do that creates a good critique session?
I think the most valuable thing with any critique is perspective. And the fact that everybody's perspective is unique in their own way. They're gonna get you to think outside of the box. A good critique will get you to think outside of the box and most importantly, like get you to enhance what you've done thus far. So that would probably be first thing that comes to mind with a good critique. So what's going on? Like, so how many sun studies did she have you guys do?
She does do like 5 to 7 for the first part, and then this is our second iteration, so we're making iterations.
Like, so okay, so what material is that? Like for both of you guys, and why did you choose the material?
So for me, I chose cardboard and yarn and stuff because I thought it reminded me of more organic stuff. More organic and sustainable stuff.
I use foam and foam core,
Uh-huh.
and you basically use foam because it's a lot smoother, it looks smoother, it looks cleaner. You're able to create those curves, you're able to create like different movement with it. It's pretty much why I want it.
I thought that was clay for a second. I thought you guys
No.
molded that, and I was like, what?
That's another question. What do you want these materials to represent? So if that's cardboard, what is cardboard in this instance? Is it some sort of concrete or is it
I
some
was
sort of
thinking-
wood? Or in that sense, is that, you know, metal paneling that's bent or something like that? You have to start thinking of materials in general, what you want them to represent. So, all right, Matt, why don't you start your presentation?
So I started with pretty much the tunnel. These two are pretty much the same.
You're moving too fast.
Yo, Rip Virgin, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yo.
That shit. Yo, that hurt, man.
Yeah, no, so
Yo.
we're literally playing like this stuff, like every time we're playing some with camp and all that, like we're to upload a design past, you know, a couple of days ago. Wow.
So I had the tunnel pretty much. This was the first one. It was pretty simple, just curves going through. And then this one, I just kind of entangled them together. I slanted them, made them thicker, just a different design to it. It's pretty much the same thing, except I took out more of the columns and created a different design, crossing them in a different way instead of just making them like diagonal. And then this one, most people had a lot of things to say about this one.
And that's this one.
Yeah, this is the original right here. And a lot of what I saw in this one, they were saying like kind of make it more exaggerated with the curves and stuff like that, or showing there's a lot more shade in the back with this one compared to other ones. So maybe putting like a door pushing you to that way or giving you an option to go that way to incorporate that shadow into the space. So then this was this one that I did. Pretty much these two or these three are pretty much like just moving past, not really like sitting down or like chilling kind of thing. This one I do have like benches in my diagram for it, like right in the corners. And for the most part, you'll be able to just move right straight through it or across it from one side to the other. And I kind of went with more exaggerated, like it's a big area, you can kind of make your way into there, but then once you get down here, it's a lot more enclosed. You feel like you have to move closer or like stop completely. And then this is my diagram for it. I just have the paths going through, and then the seating here, and this is the main point of importance where you're either moving or you're stopping. And then this one I have here, this one created a lot more of that shadow on the backside. So I had you move in quicker and like creating that tight space in the front. So you move in quicker, but once you get inside, you kind of take your time almost and like kind of make a decision, or if you want to go this way or that way, or vice versa, coming in the other way. And it kind of incorporated that shadow that would be out there, so you can go and enjoy that space where all that shadow is, because there's not much actually inside this one. And then the other one, this was what I had first for this iteration, and there's pretty much two tunnels going sideways. You couldn't go in the middle of it. You either had to go completely around it. And then there's a lot of things that people said that I could change to it. There was obviously like trying to get into that middle space, what you can do with that. Also creating, instead of just things coming up like that, putting a curve to them to make them look more like elegant or giving more of like a like art piece to it, which I actually kind of liked. And then Sabrina actually says it because I was actually stuck on what to do with these. I still want to incorporate that like tunnel feel with them, but I also didn't do a third one here because I wanted to create a straight path through it underneath. And then she was also talking about bringing this one up here and like continuing that spiral with those. So I actually really like that. And for this one, you can go in here, you can move straight through under it, also go around it. And then there's also the space where you can go, there's ramps on either side. Kind of hard to see, but you go up this way or that way up there. And there's like a space to lounge, place to sit down and like take in the scenery around it. You know. And that was my diagram. You have the seating up here. You have all the views that you can look out all that way. Obviously that movement through there, or you come up here. You come up there.
All right.
I don't know if we've already said it before, but which one do you feel is your strongest one?
This one.
I like that one. That's the one that like stuff up. With that, the circular portion, like on the ground, I was thinking like you don't have to do this, but like if you kind of split it up into parts, like 4 parts that kind of like spiraled inward almost. Does that make sense?
Kind of, you're saying like take this piece but cut it into 4s.
Yeah. So like one side will be 2. Let me see.
Gotcha.
This something of that nature where it's like it's kind of curving in, and maybe it can just be 2 that kind of curve it like that.
And that's your ramp up.
Or because I wanted it to be 4, so you could have access from 4 ways. Does that make sense? So like that, continue that. That could be like something.
Yeah, I like that idea as well. Like when I saw this, I definitely thought, I didn't see it in its total. I thought it was just one level, and I started to think, how can you apply a second level? Seeing this, so for me, the way I'm viewing this, I like in this space, I like this refinement from this, first of all. It just is very aesthetic, pleasing in the eye. I'm starting to think about how can you connect these ideas, because this feels very stringy, and I don't know, I feel there could be a little bit of this element, you know, this kind of fatness or just structuredness to it.
It's like density.
Yeah, density, yeah. You know, possibly on the outside, like how could you think about?
That's what I was thinking, like maybe these, how they're stringy, maybe make those these.
Yeah, and possibly create tunnels, you know? Like what if you had like a tunnel on the second layer, like second floor? So there's like 2 floors, right? You know, tunnel on the second floor, and that tunnel connected and that tunnel connected. And so then you know, it would be interesting in ways like it would just create an interesting space. And yeah.
That's the other thing too, I wanted to do though, because it was supposed to be like a sightseeing place. So if you have all that other extra like structure around, it's gonna like take away from the scenery around.
Yeah, I mean, well, then you have to think about on the first floor, how are the people interacting with the space?
That's why I said on the first floor, I wanted to create a path where you just keep moving through almost, so like you don't want
So
to stop.
so it makes you want to go
Yeah.
up. Okay, so like then you need to highlight that a lot more. It feels like, oh well, I don't know. Like if you're thinking about this as a structure, like a building, you know, would this just be giant windows? Like how would these things be connected? You know, I think you could do a great job of highlighting. You really want them to be on the second floor. So it's like very open.
Did she have you guys start out with concepts before you did it? Or okay. Cool.
Yeah, and I would try and find a way for these to kind of make sense though, because it seems like with this just, you know, would the door be somewhere on one of these sides, you know, and then what is this doing here? Like, is that
Yeah.
like possibly, yeah, I like that idea. Maybe you could have it go up, have it go around, or yeah, have a way to really highlight the second floor and make it very clear as well. Like it's kind of hard to see what's going on, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
So like you said, with the, you know, these as entrances, currently they're just loops. They're just gates.
Yeah.
You need some sort of structure to show that you can only enter through certain ways.
You
Not-
kind of be able to move freely around it, but still be able to go through.
Yeah, you can do that, but it's make the base bigger then, because this is the edge of the world.
Yeah, that's what she's all saying. Like that's the side of it.
Yeah, this is the edge of the world here.
You could work big, like you could make a big model and then just scale it down for your final presentation so it fits in the space.
Yeah, literally, you just take whatever that is, make it bigger, so you can use. So this is more to scale. Because at an 1/8 inch scale or 1/4 inch scale, this is fucking thick. This is like 2 feet thick. No joke. If you want to highlight the multiple paths idea, the multiple ways to do things, you need more than just 2. Or you need to make it more appealing because it looks like you're running into the bottom of this circle. You need a cut here so that you can actually go up into this onto the second
Yeah, I
floor.
was just kind of creating it.
Yeah, that's fine. Just highlighting it, making sure. There was this certain idea that I saw. Nope. Nope. This.
Hmm.
This, like, I don't know where this is in here.
It's just that entrance.
I want to see that ornateness in this, because that feels like chapel stained glass windows kind of vibe to me. I want to see that in this. If you put plastic sheeting with marks on it or something, that'll play with light, because you can play with light with stained glass windows, leaded windows. You don't need to do it just with structure.
One idea that I see that translates from here to here, it seems, you're meeting in the center, right? In this, what I really like is it's very clear of how you move. And so I feel like this idea, this is this just like twisted up like that, right? And you have this dome space where, you have people collect. And I like the diagram where you gave space for people to have benches, and then you have people like to move. And it's very clear. But yeah, those two ideas kind of translate. Like I'm envisioning like this like dome, like a dome form, and that's like here as well. It's just twisted up and brought up.
Although when I see this, it reminds me of the chapel, but it's like inverted than what it should be. Because a chapel typically in the middle is tallest than it is on the outside. Because you start in this low ceiling area. If you go to any like classic church, you start in a low ceiling area. It's high still.
Yeah.
It's still pretty damn high. It's like 10 feet ceilings. But then you move into the like not the atrium, but like the worship space. Ceilings open up to the fucking moon. I want to see this reversed. And in here.
Yeah.
I want this like taller almost, even though it's like huge still. Actually,
Or I mean, he could have the inverse. It's
that's
like
20 feet. That's pretty big, but
like I hear what you're saying here. It's like if this were to be a chapel, you'd have like pulled this up to here, right? And it'd be curving up like that. But
Yeah.
you went like that.
and when you have a higher space, people want to stop and look.
Yeah.
Not the other way.
Well, that's
Well,
also
it
what I said for
depends-
that. I
it
wanted
depends-
them to keep moving.
It depends how you want them to look as well.
Sure.
Because if this roof was curved in, but this became very bulbous on the outside, it might entice you to move to the edges, and then it will entice you to move to the edges of it, because like if you're thinking of like if this is lower but it curves up like this over here, that's just a wider view, and like I assume there'd be like windows and you're looking out at some cool looking thing.
And you said you wanted people to keep moving?
Like once you get into the middle, almost decide what you're doing. If you're like sitting down on one of the benches, or if you're going to move out.
Okay, that's interesting.
So like I said, for this one, and this one, I almost wanted it just as like a pathway.
Okay,
And
just keep moving. Don't stop and look at my good stuff.
Yeah, what do you have to think about the purpose then? Like it'll answer a lot of questions of like how you can improve this. Like, what did you envision sort of for this space?
Like
what
for
do
the
you-
most part, for all my iterations before, I went with a tunnel, but this one completely, I went like almost out of my concept with it.
Yeah.
Because what I had right here, I have those two tunnels on either side, but there's a lot more that could be done with it. And I kind of just like scrapped the idea and just went and did something completely different. So
Okay, yeah.
I was trying to figure out what my concept was for that one.
Yeah.
I know what I want to do in this space. I don't really know the concept of the actual structure.
One last thing for me. The way you connected these is interesting, but it feels archaic. It's kind of just slap it on there, glue it. But if one of these was your final idea, I wouldn't want that overlap. I'd want it connected to the edge here.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that overlap. I don't want to know it's like three separate pieces coming together. I want it one cohesive thing. So keep that in mind when you're going to do this one. When it meets here, I don't necessarily, I mean, that could be a feature.
Yeah.
Seeing that cut there. But I want it to be one form almost. I don't want to see all 20 parts that went into this.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I would love to see you just do a bunch of iterations of this.
Yep.
And kind of play with ideas. Play with, play with the taller roof and what that does. What it'll make you feel. Play with, a roof coming like in, like curving in, and what that'll do. Because you can take ideas of this and then apply it to this. And because I think there are really a lot of great ideas. Have a clear way, you have a specific idea of how people should move. Really make that, very strong in your iterations.
Or at least strong in diagram.
Yeah, strong, yeah.
Because you can say all you want, but if you're presenting to like the whoever Sabrina brings in here, they're looking at your diagram first. They're hearing your words second.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
I wonder if you could make like the ramp one of these things as well.
Hmm.
See this person? So it starts like sideways. This is that this thing. Your ramp is like coming up, it's going up, and then it becomes
Hmm.
that like curve. And you can do that on all four sides as well.
So this would be like brought down. Right, or something.
This would like fold like more, so it would be this part.
And then it would uncurve and curve right back up.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
Oh, that's actually a really interesting idea.
Yeah, but I feel like at that point, you would need to get rid of these
Yeah.
parenthesis walls. Because if you want people to move freely through it, then why do you have those walls?
Well,
Right? You
like
know?
I'm saying, like this underground space, you want to be able to just walk straight through it, straight to the other side. Or either go up those ramps onto that top of it, but then also be able to move around the structure.
Okay, so you have two sets of circulation. Inside and up or outside. That's it.
Yeah, so first circulation is the outside one, like Jordan said. Really make that clear, because that's, it just looks like these are just curvy things, but apparently they're like complicated.
Yeah, they look like afterthoughts, but it can be made into a feature.
Yeah. You have that circulation, you have the alternative circulation. One of them, you have a clear path you want to get to. The other one maybe opens up a little bit more and allows for a couple more options.
Another thing that I'm thinking about, I don't know if that's your intention, but underneath that would be very dark. That's the, okay.
So it's part of it also.
Like
Because there's-
entices you to go.
You could put a hole in the middle of that. This right here. A small hole.
That would be interesting because when the light hits it, then these things would.
You're like an Oculus.
I actually like that. It'd make the space really interesting because you'd be drawn to see what's up there.
And reinforce that movement too. That's smart.
Yeah, like what if the Oculus, instead of being a perfect circle, it was something like this? So then the shape of it with the shadow just is like a direct, points to the pack, I should say.
Yeah, I agree. I think definitely play around with this.
All right, that's awesome. So
I'm just curious, what is that?
So
Oh, yeah.
my concept for that as well is that your heart is like encapsulated by your rib cages, and in your heart you have heartstrings. So my idea was people would be walking through on those heartstrings like they do like
She's my
It's
super
a-
diva.
Yeah, exactly,
Like,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yo, that's crazy. I would never thought about that. That's crazy. That's cool.
Except for this one is like different, but these three are based off of this one.
Mhm.
So she was like refined. Late, I think after the we did our presentation, she was like, I want to see this, but with all of these combined. I was like, how am I gonna do that?
I don't know, like, I could see why she said that.
Yeah.
You know, like, this could be thought of as this, right? And
With the
then-
That's
destination.
exactly what I
And
was
then
thinking. I was
this,
like,
right? And then,
Yeah.
like, this could be thought of as that. But just in a, you know, more refined way where the forms kind of complement each other.
Because these are paths without a destination. This has its own destinations, but if you did combine the two, this would become the destination.
Yeah.
And you could make something like literally that right here to this.
That's great. That's really cool.
So true. Critique practice.
All right, so take all you learned, throw it right back at everyone.
I think we had some things to fill you up on.
Okay,
Yeah.
I actually need your help on the project that I'm working
Oh, okay,
nice,
perfect.
nice, nice.
You want to bring it up here? You want us to?
on. Yeah.
Where you guys going? You gotta see this stuff.
New.
You don't have to. you just-
Nah, they gotta be here
I'm
for
a
this.
third
This is
part.
good.
Like Gary said.
You gotta tear it apart.
Yeah,
Chipboard.
why?
Chipboard, yeah.
That's what it was. I could see it, I just couldn't say it.
This is why I kind of asked, like, my first question was like, all right, you guys have a concept? Do this type of-
She does not even speak in Spanish, but she says chica.
What do you mean you don't have, it looks like you do.
Chica. And she-
Yeah,
it's just
so
weird.
basically, literally, when I like do stuff, I just kind of do it.
Yeah.
And
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, I'm
That's
like-
kinda what I did.
Yeah. And then,
And then
like,
you just think of something later.
yeah, but that's my thing. I can't really BS.
Or you start like, you start with some inspiration and then something will pop up.
So have you guys done this project though? It's like, this is the
Project
project.
Center. The nature center, we
Yeah.
did
We
fucking
did a very-
nothing like this.
Really?
We did a very crude version of that.
You're
Yeah,
not gonna hurt
we got
yourself
this
that
service.
Yeah.
We mean this.
Like we didn't have Gary as our teacher.
There was no.
So we
Yeah.
did just a very, like, we didn't build this.
A structure like this.
Yeah, right.
We didn't build a center, we
Is
built,
this being like recorded? or
yeah, yeah.
something?
We're gonna put it on.
No pressure.
We
We
got
got
three
0
subs.
subs.
We got 3 subs and it's just me.
Oh, this is like YouTube.
My second YouTube account.
Yeah.
All right, so
And
Just
one
your
mic.
archive.
I just did all that for no reason, so I'm gonna take it out like anyway.
Well, it's part of the form.
Yeah, so this is supposed to be a nature education pavilion center. This is centered around West Windsor, New Jersey. We're supposed to be focused on like sustainability. And the idea is trying to make the building produce as much energy as it uses.
Okay, so neutral.
Right, right. So this is the site. We're tasked to do like a site analysis of where it is. The building is here. This is the drop off, this is the parking, this is like laundry and everything like that. These marks are like the elevation throughout. So as you can see, like it's built in a pretty like flat plane.
Where is the badass like?
Right here.
Okay.
Need a little bit of that. That's good. But
Badass like? Yeah, what road is this?
that's, I believe it's like Long Road.
All right, yeah, we
Let me
need
go
to
look
look
at
at that too.
Yep. Yeah, so I mean, the first thing we did was, I would have to get my computer, but we did like a series of like bubble diagrams and everything like
Yeah.
that. And then we did box diagrams.
Okay.
And then basically I came up with a full plan because.
Alright. Well, say what you need to say before you take off the.
Oh, that's basically it. I just wanted you to get like a sense of like the roofing and everything. like
Okay,
that.
alright.
So
So what are these spaces?
these spaces are, this is a reading room, exhibit, this is a workroom, which is, the ideas of the exhibit is gonna be like, hold like temporary, like displays and everything like that, so the workroom is there, so you could like switch out things and everything. So this is the auditorium, I have it set up where the stage is gonna be here, and there's gonna be like adjustable seating and like a closet over here. This is mechanical storage, restrooms, obviously the entry. This is like a small garden, an indoor garden that I have, and these are offices and stuff.
Okay.
So I have it set up where it's like private, kind of like semi-private, and then
Public.
majority public, yeah.
Gotcha. Except this
Yeah, yeah.
one.
He wanted two means, at least two means of like egress,
Yeah,
like going in and out.
gotta have it.
Right now, I'm struggling with the roofing aspect. So a lot of the things that he's talking about is like passive solar design.
Yep.
And I'd like to incorporate that as well as like water conservation or water collection.
Okay.
So some of the things that he suggested was if the sun is going this way, tilting the roofing like towards the sun.
Yeah.
And kind of making this lower, and I had this designed this way so the water would kind of slope down
Yeah, it's very
and
specific.
then be like collected that way,
Okay.
and as well as like provide shading and stuff. So like right now, what I'd like to do is figure out a concept for this because I don't have one. I just have like a whole bunch of like vague ideas
Right,
about
Okay.
what I've designed. So
all right.
So people will be entering in this way,
yes.
and are these exits or these?
So this is designed to be like an outdoor area. Okay, so you would go through exhibit, and then this would be the outdoor area where you would see like the idea is that you would be seeing like this stuff out here. Yeah.
Okay. But is there like a door here?
So yeah, that's a
Okay.
door. These are all like openings to just maximize like sunlight. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Sorry, so what I'm starting to see here is the symmetry of a butterfly.
Okay.
And this site has a lot of butterflies,
Mhm.
especially in the spring. You could pick out, native butterflies, monarch butterfly, and start to mimic maybe the patterns and the organization of the pattern and put that into your building. This sort of like trapezoidal path you've got going on here, really reminiscent of like a school building almost.
Okay.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. Did you have like, your exit here and here? At the end of the long hallway, you have an exit. The auditorium is small.
I was gonna say that. It looked like, I thought this would be an auditorium.
What scale is this at?
This is an 8th scale.
Okay.
The auditorium is supposed to see there is like 20, 30 people.
Okay, yeah,
So the reason I cut this off was because I wanted to like, continue a little bit of like screen display, so it'd be like TVs or something like that. It's spent
like a waiting area.
Yeah.
Sort
And then you would go in, and the idea is he wants you to like sit down and do like a couple activities about like what the site's about.
Oh, okay, so like tables and stuff
Yeah.
for kids. So maybe you blow it out this way, this way a little bit. So you can have that circulation of like tables and stuff over here. And screens.
Would you suggest taking this out like entirely, or just because?
I would say just expand it,
Okay.
because that separation is needed when you have school trips that are scheduled week after week, or daily. So you can have kids in here, out.
Right, right.
You need a second door here in order to get that kind of flow of kids going wherever they need to go. You need to think about like the procession of where people are going to go first, second, third, fourth. So, and this entrance is really subdued.
I know. So I started thinking like this entrance. First of all, I think this could be placed better. Possibly, I don't know. You could rearrange. You know, maybe the auditorium goes here. I don't think it's very like because this is the front entrance, right? So you kind of want it to be very welcoming. Like this field back here is like super welcoming. So this feels like, I don't know. It's like you're
Yeah,
like,
it's kinda
almost like
like
into a prison or
you're
something.
like-
Like
you're
there's
like,
no
hey.
windows. Like there's one
Yeah.
window.
I designed it like that because I thought from the north side you wouldn't be getting like that much light. So
Oh,
yeah.
alright.
But then the last time I talked to him, he was like, "Oh no, actually there is like some decent like lighting from the
Yeah.
north side."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh shoot, I gotta do that over again."
Yeah,
Like,
so here in New Jersey, southern light is our predominant light, but the north light is like secondary.
okay,
It's
wow.
not as good. It's a bit cooler
Mhm,
lighting, but it's definitely useful. You can't just cut off your lighting. Don't forget about the east and west.
Mhm.
Sunrise, sunset. Who doesn't love a good sunrise, sunset?
Right.
I also started to think on levels as well. I don't know the requirements of your project, but it would be cool. I think you have a lot of opportunity to play with levels, especially with this entrance. Like, imagine if you had 2 stair sets going here, and then you could have,
The rest of it above.
and then you know, like maybe these start to get aligned up here, and like they can curve in, and you know, like
And
have
then
it
more
look
out
like
of
that.
the way too.
It's more out of the way, and then maybe you can have these like alcoves out front, because I mean, with a nature center, you want people hanging out in front, you want them hanging out in the back.
Yeah.
And, with a nature center, you want it welcoming, and sort of like you have like spots where you can just you know, maybe the workers just step out real quick, and like, you know, then you have the opportunity maybe to add more curves as well. Like if you're gonna study butterflies, I mean, nature is really like 90 degrees flat. And so like possibly, you know, taking these and having a stairway to connect to a level here and a level up here,
Yeah.
and then you'll have the main things on the first floor. It'll be like this space. I think it's great. I like the feel of like the way this looks and how you move to it. You'll have maybe this, but possibly bigger on the right side, and then like this side will be like maybe on the bottom floor. It'll be like over here. It'll be like bathrooms and then storage.
Yeah.
And then you can, you know, maybe create some walls, so you can like create like wall seats. And then yeah, possibly work with a second level.
Yeah, for this project, we wanted to make sure that it stayed like one level.
Alright.
Do you agree with like repurposing like different levels? I
Yeah.
feel like
It
that
could
would
be a half level.
right. I didn't even think of that. No.
It could be up 5 feet.
Okay.
And just that elevation will create the visual breakup that you need to really like make it visually interesting. I'm not
Well, I
saying
mean-
it's not visually interesting. I'm just saying, you know, you need maybe just a little bit. And
Another,
it separates the public and the private even more.
Mhm.
Because if a kid sees a couple stairs and, you know, like a blank office hallway, they're not gonna like run up in there.
That's true. Another thing that I'm struggling with is like you guys are talking about like just this like entrance or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
he was talking about something like a vestibule or something like a lot like tall like windows and stuff like that. I'm still having
Possibly your challenge might be just the way the walls are here. It's like very small, so it's like your only opportunity is creating 2 doors, right?
Yeah.
So you have that whole, you know. You got your auditorium back here. I mean, your exhibition space. What if you went out like this now? So your entrance is here. And your your exhibitions here, your auditoriums here, office. And mechanical. Mechanical has got to be out of the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, more towards the back, I would say. Like the more back, the better.
Yeah, when you said like I would like think about switching, I was like, all right, like it would make more sense if the auditorium was pushed up front and maybe like the bathrooms and mechanical just like pushed back.
Yeah.
It would just
You start playing with bathroom designs too. You can come up with some real nice things. Also think of like spacing of your seating for the auditorium, because I'm assuming these kids aren't sitting on the floor.
No. That'd be crazy.
And use that as your metric to how big the room needs to be.
Okay.
So you said 20 people. No one wants to sit. It's really close. It's like if that's like a 3x3 chair, you get maybe 6 inches between each one, and you know you gotta scale that out on 8-inch scale. If you scale it, you said quarter or eighth?
Eighth.
3, 6, 9, 8 foot. 9 foot.
I like these windows back here.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just that's supposed to be like the evening sun and everything.
Yeah.
That's 18 foot. That's 6 chairs. So 6, 12, 18. You can only have 3 rows of chairs. 18 people. That's not including the stage.
Yeah.
It needs to be bigger. It needs to be
Yeah,
bigger
yeah.
in the story.
Especially if you have a certain requirement for your square footage. I'm pretty sure you do with this project.
Yeah, yeah.
Like just minimize the maintenance space a little bit.
Yeah.
And then allocate it towards it.
I agree.
Mechanical, that's huge. But they have, you gotta ask Gary what kind of mechanical stuff they're restoring.
Yeah.
A couple lawnmowers, right? You know, it's not that much.
What kind of inspiration did you look at before you made this?
Before I made this, I just looked at the box diagram that I did basically.
Yeah.
And he talked about he likes this kind of like riv system. So I based everything like along that.
Yeah. I would try and make no right angles in this piece.
Curve the walls out.
Yeah.
The walls.
Like no right angles anywhere. You know?
Or at least on the face.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, on the face. This room, I mean, this room can be as is, but like, then you could have this, you know, grid kind of thing. That's your like strong motif, right?
Okay.
And then you have a lot of things that complement it. Like this very sharp angle.
It's nowhere else.
Yeah.
It's nowhere else. So it's like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Why did you kind of do that?
It's not really
What is
usable
this?
space.
What is this space again?
That's just the workroom, yeah.
Like
Is
an
it
office?
An office?
No, like I said, like this is if it's a temporary exhibit, so you get to like swap things in and out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, and then so like your windows too, you gotta be like, you gotta think about what the space is and what kind of windows there's. Like, if this is just a storage space,
Yeah.
I mean, if you have like art pieces and like you're in a nature center, you have like, you know, owls that have been like stuffed with, you know, like turtles or like things like that
Yeah,
that are dead, you know.
yeah. That's what I had envisioned like for this space right here. It's just the perspective. Yeah, that perspective. Yeah. This is one of the first ones that I see.
We got a public diagram and we talked about.
Yeah. So we did a series of them, and this is what he was talking about when he said he liked that.
I think from somewhere you could start is just really organizing, kind of making a lot more sense of where the spaces are and the purpose for that place.
Yeah.
Like I always think I like to like this like little module here, like the maintenance and the bathroom. I personally like putting them together. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
And then it's like bathroom like this is storage, right? Storage maintenance. You know, you could just you could divide this space and then, you know, allocate this, you know, the storage thing. Well, you want that in here.
No, because it makes sense, because if I could switch those spaces, I can make the auditorium bigger, maybe the size of that canopy.
Yeah,
And then that would just, it would just make more sense.
Yeah.
And then maybe I could open up more windows.
For the bathroom,
Mhm.
I want it this way.
Going,
So that as soon as you come in the door,
Yeah.
bathroom.
Right. So you don't have to go wandering down halls. and stuff
okay,
like-
okay.
That's one thing right there. For the roofs now, let's move on to the roofs.
Yeah.
If you have this kind of like radioactive symbol kind of thing going on here, you can open this up more. You can take it out to here. You can make it like an envelope to funnel people in.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, and you have
bring the
room for
roof right
coats
up
too, because like nature center, when it's raining,
when it's
you can have like coat
snowing.
racks.
So now bring it up. Then you have, why don't you make the roofs go like this? It's
Like from both sides, like.
Yeah.
Okay.
it's not ideal, but like make your south facing side, this one, a bit lower
Mhm.
so that it can still hit this side, the sun at least. But then you can collect all the rain in this channel
Mhm.
and that follows your circulation.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you gotta put collection tanks in.
Mhm.
Those are like fucking huge. But, you can add a collection tank on one side or two sides and make all the water go into those.
Where is this gonna be recorded at? Where is it?
YouTube.
Okay, gotcha.
Put it up as soon as possible.
No, but that's good.
I have a question. So is your water collection thing something you'd be educating people
No, so what I'm educating people on right now is bioethics, specifically environmental bioethics, which revolves around sustainability, making the environment around us like more comfortable and habitable for us to live and vice versa. So, it's a play on like how we impact the environment, how the environment impacts us. So it would be revolved around all those things.
If I was you, like with your concept, and this is what I would do, I actually think living in boxes and right angles is a very archaic idea,
Mhm.
and it's not in tune with the natural way of the world.
Mhm.
Like our human body isn't right angles. Like mostly all of nature is in right angles. And I take a lot of inspiration by Oscar Neymar and his work. Just like working with very fluid forms, I feel like those type of settings can create a feeling of more connectedness. Like he has a home in Brazil where he like integrated with the mountain, right? And the form of the house complements the forms of hills, and it gave like the house has such a feeling of like connectedness with the earth. And so with bioethics, one thing to think about is like, why aren't people, why do people really not care about climate change and these things like with our planet and sustainability? It's because it's a disconnect from nature.
Yeah.
Right? We're super disconnected from nature. Like, we live more in a virtual realm, like on our phones, scrolling through things and looking at videos than we do connecting like with everyday kind of life. Like, I mean, I've spent majority of my day in a building
Yeah.
with right angles and stuff. And I feel like those things are just like disharmonious to like just like the human condition and stuff like that. So tying that to your form and your like what's going on here, if when you're making your presentation and you have that, if you're saying like, okay, we're focusing on bioethics and this space is to teach you like about sustainability and like I don't know, nature centers connect you closer to the earth.
Right.
Me personally, I would definitely integrate like more curvy forms, or try and just like get away from too many right angles.
Yeah.
I mean, in some spaces, like it makes sense, but the way you interact with the space, it doesn't have to be so like, that's how it is right now. It could be, you have the opportunity to add a little more dance and play, like things in nature, right?
It's funny because the first project we did this semester,
the whole group.
Yeah.
And then this one, I was like, I want to get away from that.
I mean, yeah,
And
working
now-
with curves is
now-
kind of annoying. Like,
Yeah. But I completely agree with what you're saying. Like it demands more. It needs to be more in tune with nature. And nature isn't always like angles.
Yeah.
It's-
And especially for a nature center, it makes sense. I feel like spaces that have, that's the idea, right? And like when you put it into form, it gives you a certain feeling, right?
Mhm.
And I think it would just amplify what's going on in the space.
All right, so what I'm drawing here is a new auditorium. So instead of keeping it ground level, make it subterranean.
That's what I have. in my brain. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, that's great. Yeah.
That's
good,
good,
dude.
dude. That's a good thing.
That's crazy.
And you can have like windows that show the dirt.
Okay, I didn't have it that far, but that's
So
yeah.
here's the ground, right?
Yeah.
That's the ground. You enter somewhere, and you have steps down. You have like, you can see the dirt, and they could point out to the layers. So they have diagrams. They point out to the layers. The presenter can come down the stairs and show them stuff over here. They can go up the stairs and point out the windows that are at ground level and show the grass, the flowers.
Yeah.
They go up higher and show the trees and other stuff. And I don't know, it feels like an organic way to present this kind of subject.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot too, because it's
Wow,
like
it's-
it makes you like connected with the earth. You're like going into the earth. Yeah.
Many times like directly into like nature and what the space is about. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. I think that makes sense too. And then it gives you more opportunity, right? Because you have a lot of like working parts with this. But I mean, that's one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got to think about like angles of the roofing, sun, just like.
I want to do this.
No, that's a
I
good
know, I'm getting
point.
hyped up
Like,
too.
Yeah.
We're all like kind of struggling with this individually, just trying to get this done in a time that matters. So like,
course,
I just
yeah.
wanted to come through and give you guys advice. I figured you guys need more experience and more knowledgeable in this field, and like you guys gave me some great advice, man. Like now I have like a better like sense of direction. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
And it just like helps you clear up. I mean, like it's part of the process too. It's like sometimes you really don't know what you want.
yeah,
Like, and I think we work the same way. Like
yeah,
a lot of the time you just do it, and so like now you have this, but like
Now you have ideas. of what it could be.
it's hard getting in tune with like your intuition, like when you're designing. Like sometimes like I find it where I'm just like, I have this idea, like I can draw this thing, I can draw this layout, but it's like, okay, well, what does it mean? You know?
yeah.
And just making that connection has been like a struggle. Right now, you know?
But I think like I don't know. I'm very connected to the idea right now of like taking what you said about designing the space to promote bioethics, sustainability, and then integrating that into forms that matter. Like so it makes sense. Like the subterranean idea. I think that makes sense. For me, it would be like angling and fluidity and like
Another thing, the exhibition room could step up.
Mm.
Instead of down like the auditorium, the exhibition room steps up. Because now in the exhibition room, you could talk about the ozone layer, air, stuff like that. I mean, you can pitch that as an idea. It doesn't have to be that, but that's an idea. So like the architecture now informs what happens and what gets talked about where.
Yeah.
and it makes sense,
So I guess the last thing I would say like is like, how do you guys go about like selecting materials for your building? That's something we're just stepping in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not even that experienced with it. Usually when I'm working, I kind of like have a vision of there's like materials that give you certain feelings, and then this just comes over time. And like Jordan and I always like talk about just the dark mahogany woods and like those kind of feelings you get from it. We just love that feeling.
Yeah.
It's like that, it's like that feeling. Like materials, I mean, there are basic materials you can just like learn about. You know, you have your steels, you have your concrete, there's like a couple different types of concretes. You know, like there's like the reinforced concrete, right?
Yeah,
There's
you
like,
can have like concrete that has wood patterns pressed into it.
yeah, like this museum I went to, designed by IMP, which is another one of my favorite architects. So he had like refined concrete, and then like they would, it was like, it worked on two ways. First of all, like to hold the concrete in its form while it's drying, they like put these like, you know, like 2x4s and just like wood panels against it and stacked it down the wall. And then when it dried and they took them off, like the pattern of the wood was in it, but they just left it as is, like, and it looked, it gave like a really cool feeling when you're in the museum.
So pointers on materials.
Yeah.
Color, first thing you tackle is once you have the colors down, you can go into materials.
Okay.
Yeah.
Texture. And finally, if you're thinking about sustainability, you have to think about obviously sustainability. Concrete,
Like concrete is, bro,
fucking terrible for the environment.
it's
Uh,
really bad.
Wood, it's better,
Wood is better, but then like,
but there's no perfect. There's no
yeah, there's no
perfect answer.
perfect one, yeah.
There's no perfect answer. Yeah, so color, texture, and feeling. Like this here, I'm thinking really bright, like a white area, like these column, like the column things are like white. I'm not thinking like dark colors because I want it to shine. This is like wood paneling.
Yeah.
This just like some industrial like plastic siding, you know, you have to think of the use of the space and you know how easy it is to clean. The flooring in this, I'm kind of a person to just say, put a fucking either white floor or wood floor down across everything pretty much, minus like mechanic shop all the day.
I was thinking about making like a concrete floor, but then I was like,
I
That's
mean,
a cold feel, like
Yeah,
concrete
cold.
wood, it's a cold feeling, like if you have concrete floor.
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's true.
One thing I would think about for aesthetics, because certain aesthetics portray a certain feeling, and before you even go in the space, it kind of gives you the idea of what the space is about, right? Like, and you want to have all your ideas come full circle. It's like, you know, your overarching idea is like, okay, designing a space for bio something and sustainability. That's the overarching idea. So it's like, what aesthetics will reflect that?
Okay.
And so to give you an example, it's like, okay, two people who work for the benefit of the planet. You'd say like maybe like NASA, and then you would say a hemp farm, right? They're two people that are they're working with the planet and stuff like
They're
that.
on two different sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
But you know, you think about like the way one dress, like you think of an astronaut, the aesthetics, right? It's like the way their uniform is and the angles on like their backpacks and the way the helmet is, and why is the helmet, you know, fully bulbous? Why can't it be like brought back, like you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
and then you think about like a hemp farmer, like what is he wearing? Like what kind of boots? And so those
Wearing
two
hemp
things
boots.
immediately indicate like what is going on.
Purpose.
Yeah.
Look into recycling materials too. You can make this thing out of plastic brick. Like recycle
Yeah, there's a lot of new
plastic bricks, where they literally take huge amounts of recycled plastics, compress it, send it down.
I would recommend to you, if you have some architects that just like pique your interest, like that when you see their work,
Yeah.
it's like you feel something, like you're like, oh, I kind of like this. Possibly just look into their buildings and then like coming with the perspective of I'm trying to learn what materials they're using. So your eyes looking for it, maybe build up, just like drag those images into a presentation, and then also maybe look at other inspirations, like what does the bioengineering building at Harvard look like, or at Princeton, or at, you know, whatever school, or, you know, like where those are where the people really in the field are working. What does their building look like? And then you could take the inspiration of what architects have done before to portray that feeling and idea, and then how you could change it into your own lens.
Okay.
And I would just collect all those images, and then you can like lay it out and look at what you like and what you don't like.
Create a
And
mood board.
yeah, mood board, and then boom.
I should do that. I think I did that like last semester. I did that one time.
Yeah.
It helped. It helped.
Yeah.
It helped. So.
Especially, yeah, it just helps clarify things. And you can do it fast, you know, you don't have to spend forever.
Too much information already.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it, man. This is why I like doing this, because I like talking about these things, and again, like hearing different perspectives, and like it blows my mind, like, you know, like hearing the idea that I never really thought of being able to my project, or at least like tweak it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just
That's the beauty of the critique.
yeah.
Like,
That was model example of critique. If there ever was one.
and it's like then you have like your whole class kind of doing that. It's like you get a lot of great kind of inputs,
That's the thing that we're.
and you
missing
could
with
take
our
it or leave it, but at least you hear a different kind of way.
Yeah, with this online crap that went on, I got like just a Akeem if he was awake.
project.
Yeah.
That's why you guys are lucky right now, because you have like how many students you guys have in your class? Yeah, you guys got like, it looks like 20 plus or something. Yeah, all the thing about all those different people, all those different like the amount of knowledge everybody has, you got everything. But like when they start to like kind of like dwindle down, you only have a couple students, it kind of like runs dry with, and it's hard to your knowledge is not expansive. You're not going to learn as much as you would from 18 to now. It's like 4 people or something.
But there's, see, right now, like, that's why we're kind of having practice is like their class right now. I think one of the things that's difficult for their class is kind of the critique process. Like, it's just like Sabrina's telling you what she thinks, and maybe the class is taking out, this is like, that's what it should be.
This is scripture.
Yeah, right. But really, the benefit is actually hearing from your peers as well. Like Sabrina, of course, has like a
Great ideas.
great ideas and a great perspective and a way back on things. I think all those things also come, like as an architect, Steve, like the reason I love this is because you take so many things and you can put it into the architecture. Like you could take music, you could take clothing, you could take bioengineering, you could take anything,
Acoustics.
like all that.
Everything. It is the way of how we live.
I'm quite impressed.
That's a good project.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it, man. It's been a journey, just trying to get this thing done, man. You go in, you get critiqued, and it's like, is it really good? Is it bad? You get these mixed like reviews on it, and you know, you kind of get lost in like in your process.
Well, now you got 2 weeks to finish it.
Right.
You can make 2 more models and 10 sketch models. Make it in modules and then stick it together first instead of all on one slate.
Yeah, so you can move things around. If you have like an idea of like, yeah, so you can move things around.
Although doing like the subterranean lecture is going to be hard, you have to make like a base and then stick it in. So you can pull it out with a book.
One thing that sucks is the work. It's just so time consuming.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Sitting there all day.
all day, dude. I know, that's why like, you gotta find a good podcast or something to start
Right,
listening
right.
to, learning while you're working.
Oh, I found this great podcast. But it's called and it's like these guys just talk about disasters that's happened, like architectural engineering disasters,
Oh, yeah.
and they just talk shit about it.
I mean, you're learning from this, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
So Estes, just before you leave, we actually took your idea of, you know, like trying to like
donate back to the classroom, right?
Yeah,
Because like,
yeah.
I mean, there are material, like their class needs materials, your class, I'm sure needs stuff. So what we're gonna do is probably allocate like maybe 200 or 300 of the club money
Mhm.
towards getting materials, but we really want to, for the spring, we really want to go to we'll go to firms and have them, get us money
Yeah.
so we can actually do like a proper donation, like
Yeah,
a
man.
real proper update. What are some of the things that you would need and like your class do you think would need?
So immediately,
Materials and-
like upstairs.
Yeah.
Because in the future, if there is more students that continue on to second year,
Yeah.
new desks. You need new desks and new computers. But that's gonna be like a big.
Yeah, it's not $300.
I mean, that's why we were thinking big, like 5K donation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why we're thinking big.
'Cause
And I think, dude, with firms, dude, if we pitch it right, and we will, we have a real need. It's not like we're the biggest school and like, but like there are a lot of people who come to the school who just can't afford materials.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah,
like,
financial aid isn't enough.
Yeah.
and it's like, imagine if you had like a Leonardo da Vinci, or you had, a Hath+Hill coming out of here, or you had like, a great architect like Ian Pei or a Luis Kahn. The potential is there, but they can't get their practice and they can't get their work in
Yeah.
because they can't afford it,
Right.
And
I
so
think
that's
about
like the
that a lot.
angle we could come out and be like, look, we like and it's like they have nothing to lose by donating either. It's like they'll get it back in time.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
could, you could offer collaborations and stuff like that, internships, like you donate this, well, we could set up programs where we can intern like before.
Yeah.
Just start developing like a relationship or even like,
And develop the program again.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
like Gary said, remember, he said that our director thinks this program's going downhill.
yeah.
And we need to prove to him that it's not. And actually, that's one of the things we need to find his email and start like communicating to him. Like, look, we have like some fucking legends in this room.
Yeah.
We got
We're
architectural
active.
legends.
We're
We're
doing
active.
shit.
We're out here and we're doing this shit with no support. Really.
Yeah. Gary even spoke on the diversity now. It's starting to emerge within the field of architecture too.
Yeah.
He's in like 50 years.
There was no women in there.
Right,
There was
right.
no one of like
Color.
my
Yeah,
background or your
right.
background in there. There's like, like it was just.
And now look, this class is a prime example of like how much like interest is starting to arise within the field of
Yeah.
architecture. So yeah, I think that's really important.
And I'm great. That was a great idea. So
Yeah.
it's you that like, and I want you to help us along with this process.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how long I'm gonna be in this area or
Yeah.
anything like that, but I would definitely love to be a part of